I'm hoping everyone had a decent holiday last week. Good food, good people, maybe a little time away from whatever ails you. Now that we're heading into a new year, I want to circle back to something that keeps coming up, not just in my comments, but also in my Discord as well. The ever-present hit registration. I've talked about it before, but clearly not well enough, because I'm still seeing the same comment pop up multiple times. Not so much from an angry place, but more from a I don't get it place. So I figured I'd get into more details about the issue and see where we could go from there. Lots of people are complaining about it, but it's not an easy fix. So let's get into it. So before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page here. Some of this is going to be a bit lengthy, but I felt it was necessary for a bit of context. And there's a bit of extra context as well, so please adjust accordingly and bear with me. Battlefield 6 isn't broken. The kids like throwing that word around so much that it's lost a lot of its meaning. Broken implies things like you can't launch the game. The game doesn't progress further than the launch menu. Everyone's emptying magazines and no one's dying. I simply don't understand the reeing going on about this game. All I hear is ree. I don't understand it. Yes, there are some issues and problems with Battlefield 6. No one is debating that. But to sit there and say the game is broken is just simply being out of touch. As you can see here in the game footage, I'm playing the game. If it was broken, I couldn't show you footage. Hit-Reg is not a broken feature. If hit registration were genuinely broken, the game wouldn't function at all. Servers wouldn't hold up, you wouldn't be able to finish a match, and nothing would feel consistent enough to play more than one round. It's not what's happening here. What players are actually running into is something more complicated, honestly, more frustrating, which is the collision between network reality scale and expectations that don't quite line up with how online games actually work. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Remember, kids, I'm not trying to defend the game while it has its list of problems. I'm not making excuses in regards to the game's issues. And honestly, if that's what you're going to come at me with, you're on the wrong channel, so don't bother wasting everyone's time, especially mine. What I'm hoping to do here is explain what's really going on. I've had a few comments about the Hit-Reg issue, both in YouTube land and in my Discord. So, having a little game industry knowledge, I figured I'd try to take a crack at providing some info. Keep in mind, there's some oversimplifications here. If there's enough demand, I'm happy to go into the details. The first common misconception a lot of players have is treating hit registration like it's a single system. It's not. Hit registration is a result. It's the outcome of several systems interacting at speed. These include your client, the server, other players' clients, even the network sitting in between all of that. When people say they should have fixed hit registration by now, what they're really saying is they think that there's a checkbox somewhere labeled hit registration on or off. That is not how this works. And let's be honest, once someone starts from the wrong point of view, any explanation afterwards sounds like excuses to them. So, before we go any deeper, we need to reset how we're thinking about this. A big part of the confusion comes from players collapsing everything into one word: netcode. Now, that's understandable, but it's not completely accurate. It's part of it, but not all of it. Netcode is about how information moves, how inputs are sent, how states are predicted, how disagreements between clients gets resolved. Netcode matters, absolutely, but it's only one piece of the pipeline. Hit registration also depends on things like when your packets arrive, how consistent that timing is, server tick rates, interpolation windows, jitter, and packet loss. Not just whether your ping numbers look good. This is where people really don't like the answer. Your connection isn't slow, but it is inconsistent. Even with fiber, even with low ping, even on a wired connection. Packets don't arrive evenly. They don't arrive predictably. And they don't arrive at perfectly spaced intervals every second. That variance forces the server to make decisions, to predict, to guess, and then to correct after the fact. That's where the classic complaints come from. I shot first. My hits didn't count. I died behind cover. Not because the logic is broken, but because time and distance matter more than we want them to. This also explains why the problem feels worse at night or on weekends. During peak hours, servers are handling more players, more packets, more corrections, and more overlapping predictions. The server isn't worse, it just got busier. And this is where the just upgrade the servers argument falls apart. Publishers don't own infinite custom-built servers sitting around waiting for load spikes. They rent the infrastructure, usually through providers such as AWS for those of us in North America side of the planet. You know, all those data centers being built everywhere, especially in the Midwest. These servers, as they are now, cost money, lots of money. An increasing tick rate or server authority doesn't scale gently, it scales fast. And replacing or upgrading the servers is economically unjustifiable. It just costs too much money. To deliver the experience players say they want, EA would have to either massively increase operating costs, account and accept lower margins, or push those costs somewhere else. That's not a technical limitation. That is a business reality. If you all want perfect server timing and eliminate Hit-Reg, two things will be within the new reality. One, the cost will increase by a lot. The $70 game will now be $150 for the base game. The company has to recoup those expenses somehow. Two, you will never truly eliminate ping, packet loss, or the Hit-Reg. Sure, it will be minimized, but it will always exist. And here's why. Some players, and for the love of God, I don't know why they do this in 99% of the cases, play on Wi-Fi. Look, far be it for me to judge someone's life choices, but a wired connection will always be stronger and more consistent than a Wi-Fi connection, especially when it comes to consoles. Sony, for example, takes a loss on PlayStation sales. They always have. They make money on the licensing agreement with the games. This also is one of the many reasons why crossplay has been such a drag in delay, but that's a conversation for another video. Anyway, with consoles, the NICs are of the lowest bidder quality. So you play Wi-Fi on console, you do so at your own risk. Then there's the PC crowd, the PC Master Race tribe. Look, my setup is above minimum specs, but my machine is nowhere near God tier. If someone is running a $10,000 machine all decked out and have the most epic baller fiber IP service and live 10 miles away from their nearest neighbor, well, the network experience to the services is going to be much different than someone running Spectrum at 500 megabytes up and down in an apartment by a college campus. Games like Battlefield feel this more than any other shooter because of the choices it makes. Larger maps, higher player counts, faster movements, projectile weapons, combined arms. This means vehicles, whatever class character you choose, all the weapons and all the attachments, so on and so forth. Every one of those increases state complexity and makes prediction harder. Smaller shooters avoid some of this nonsense not because they're smarter or better games, but because it's easier to manage with fewer variables. Battlefield plays on hard mode by design. That's the trade-off. There's also a human factor that people don't like to admit. Once players stop trusting the feedback they're getting, they do one of three things generally. Some start playing differently. Sometimes they overcommit, sometimes undercommit. Some chase confirmation, and they remember losses far more clearly than wins. Others stop playing altogether and fall under two main camps. Camp number 1, the game is broken camp. Camp number 2, this is still an issue camp. So confidence drops, complaints get worse, meanwhile engagements feel unfair even when the system itself isn't the primary issue. That's why Hit-Reg complaints spike after bad sessions, losing streaks, and peak hour matches. The third group generally understand that large-scale games come with inherent issues such as Hit-Reg and other problems and stick with the game knowing that 95% of these problems will get addressed and eventually resolved. So what does all this mean in practice? It means hit registration matters, but not in the way most people think. If you want to adapt, the answer isn't rage and it isn't waiting for a miracle patch. It's understanding peak hour variances. It's knowing your system isn't one of the ones tested during QA. Hit-Reg issues will never disappear, especially on large-scale online games. And letting go of the idea that a global online shooter is ever going to feel like a LAN match. The game isn't broken. The network isn't magic. This is the nature of the beast, folks. Let's recap a certain idea because for whatever reason I still keep getting pushback on this. I am not in any way, shape, form, or fashion defending things that are wrong within this game. I'm not sure where some of the commenters are coming up with that. What I am doing is explaining what some of these issues are, why they exist, and how to work around them if a workaround is possible and if players are willing to execute the workarounds. If you have the attitude that you dropped coin and expect smooth operations on whatever game, and that doesn't meet your expectations, well, all I can say is this. On one hand, that is indeed fair. On the other hand, is your expectations of anything, game or otherwise, in balance with reality? Whenever I experience the Hit-Reg issue, and it pops up every so often, I have found that logging out of the game, back into my Steam client, wait a minute or so, and then firing the game back up again seems to resolve the issue for a little while. It's annoying, sure, there's no argument there. But right now, it is what it is. Besides, it forces me to get off my ass for a minute every once in a while. And that's not a bad thing. So, the next time you get the Hit-Reg issue hardcore, take a second. Check the time of day, and check to see if it's peak hours. Log out for a minute. Go grab a drink or something. Come back and fire it up again.
Stay with me.
And for those doomsayers out there, the ones that say the game is broken solely on Netcode or Hit-Reg, you'll be alright eventually. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have questions about the Hit-Reg thing, drop them into the comments. I especially want to know your usual time frame on when you play and see if it falls under those peak time issues. And before you scurry away, this is the last week of December's Veteran Spotlight DAV. I'm currently searching for a new spotlight for January, so if anyone has any suggestions, drop those in the comments as well. You can find the DAV info in the video description. Feel free to check it out and see if it's something you're interested in supporting, even if it's just a simple link share on your socials. Until the next one, out.